Hello, black pupils. There are people with the name Violette who have roles of prosecutors and judges, and Collusions, also with houses near me who have wire crime roles with Westfield Police, switching names, with prosecutors and judges, further roles with doctors personally and professionally tied to them, with child offenders, more with the principal child offenders campus. Increasingly, it's a campus with names tied to body dumping spots, including the body dumping spot of Billy Grosso. And things were confirmed to me on Facebook by Enzo Fienza, who's also a neighbor of people with the World Trade Center attack named Keene, and other neighbors of his have roles with people with the name DeMoro and Scalora, who are involved with wire crimes on my street, planting evidences on all sides of my house with Wethersfield Police and other police departments. And they're educators. I don't even know who I never had a formal class with Joe Lombardo and Joe DeMoro in my life. John DeMoro was one of the ones involved with him and them, with the FBI and co-defendants of former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, various natures of co-defendants of his and their family members and neighbors. And the difference of that was is also exploited all sides in criminal and civil cases and the interbranch switching and forging names. Differentially, the people on off corrections offices and judicial branch offices. There are people, there's someone with the name David, I don't know his last name, and there's an Aaron, I don't know his last name. They know my name. See, these are people identity theft, fraud, slander. Also with Joshua Julian on the Facebook page of the principal child abuser before he was caught. These are also people with retired police chiefs, like a police chief Cintron, and his family members and people intimately tied to them, involved with child offenders. I don't even know where they live. In other words, Reno Mazzucato and his wife, I don't even know his brother and sister's name, and their neighbors. They have a neighbor's named Domain. Increasingly, increasingly also Allison Mulcahy. I don't know her sister's name. I never had a conversation with her. I was never around her. Only time I ever saw her close was outside of Foxct Connecticut News. She demonstrated as a confirmation too. Her roles planting evidences with all sides in criminal and civil cases, including one in people with the Ninth Circuit Court in Manhattan next to the World Trade Center attack that day. As people involved also with Connecticut's District Court and Hartford Superior Court and the Britain Superior Court and other Hartford courts, and people on out the state judicial branch offices, on out the state corrections offices, affected confessions to me, which were also confirmations of other people's confessions and demonstrations to me of their roles intercities with past predicate acts with names on off and next to the state judicial branch offices, also involved with this intercities all along roads and routes. There are a number of judges and prosecutors involved with wire crimes with the same house /S too. These are also phones that are collusions with police phones where they fabricate phone transcripts. These are also roles with people pretending people need to have faith in their government. We have black people's rights of eyes to know that we're not supposed to have faith in our government. There is no law saying that. See, they have criminally foreign influence readings of statutes, precedents. There's an increasingly an O'Brien family who I never had, increasingly people I never had classes with when I was growing up, have roles with identity theft, fraud, slanders, with black KKK themed, Latino themed police and foreign, putting fake things in databases. Know my name, I don't even know their name. They're lying about their motivations. They should fear God and get on paper, one name in sequence. So there are people with the name Violette increasingly involved with prosecutions and where they have uses of words like mafia and gangs and criminal enterprises used to keep counters as collusions of criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw, black pupils. This breaching method has humanity defended grouped-wise, tactical ulterior from how nature tells us to communicate how we are grouped. We are a species body of individual bodies with group /grouped differences. Because that one slash, in other words, there are other species volumes, and we didn't invent this, and they didn't invent it. There is an identity of value progression That is, there's a distinct identity of hyper simultaneous nature here. And so also we're gonna appreciate a special difference and exceptions in exception nature. Because, for example, I'm not even a lawyer. This is about a predicate acts with facts delivery system method. A Joshua Julian is one of the ones with the Facebook page of the Principal Child Defenders Campus who have medical families, foreign and domestic, that fake conversations with me. And they forge other doctors' names. That's why and how these are also the same names that have roles with World Trade Center predicate acts leading up to the World Trade Center attack in that context and sense. Also attaching all sides of criminal and civil cases to collusions with them. It was proven after the attack, but it was proven that day of the attack on the World Trade Center in the Ninth Circuit Court next to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals next to the World Trade Center. Names on all sides of that case. I mean, from inside the court, they had post-dated legal papers, but also names on all sides of that case in the news were attached to the same sequence shifts, planting evidences, predicate acts roles, and roles forced Saudis to collusions with them. Increasingly, Ray Reynolds is tied to people who educators of his who have roles of drugs and medicines crimes with kids, identity theft, fraud, slanders, and tactical delusions. Also with people that lived near me with identity theft, fraud. In other words, I was in a class with him. I was in kindergarten. They're planting fake things with a Harris family, and a Ray Reynolds, and a Tim O'Brien and a Ray Colello also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed people with the name Rick Ciampaglione and Mark Ciampaglione. And people tied to them like a Johnny. He sought me out to confess, record, confess, demonstrate, confirm after he graduated. In other words, they've been putting me in this Rick Ciampaglione into fake ties to him and his friends because of his roles with the police families near me, involved with wire crimes with them. Fake conversations with me. They pretended through the news too. When I was a kid, they pretended I spoke with the police. They planted evidences with the kids. They changed the words up. Like a Chris Walters, increasingly involved with people and confessions tied to people, his roles with planting evidence on my street from other areas and with people next to him, involved with the same house, with wire crimes with the principal child offender too. A Bob Chase confessed, a Phil Colello involved with it. Whiting forensics increasingly involved with a Phil Colello and a Joshua Julian with the same house /S since I was a kid, planting federal crimes with them. Federal evidences crimes, federal rules of evidences crimes. So the different police departments of Connecticut and retired Wethersfield police chiefs have roles with the name Colello. Also, they didn't put the whole name in the confession. And the Bob Chase is at Whiting Forensics. He confessed the name Phil Colello. He didn't show me the police report and lied about why. Also with delusions. And this is before they found out about the proven principal upskirt nature I caught with worse. See, the courts and the police forms and investigators, they have roles with digital crimes, all different kinds of natures of organized crime, not legitimately. In other words, they have roles with child abuse, sexual, even medical, and even women judges and people with the courts switching names roles. See, they're defending notions of integrity they never had. That's state collusion. These are increasingly people off the corrections offices and off the state judicial branch offices and all along, conjunctions to it like Route 3. And Wethersfield Pizza has wire crimes with intelligence at Central Connecticut State University and the Wethersfield Police, fabricating phone transcripts with the F.B.I, state police, forensics locations, involved with forcing child abusers, leaders of kids. The same ones that are increasingly roles of federal evidences kinds on my street since I was a kid. You should fear God. And when you hear them speaking about organized crime, in other words, even if they were legitimately for some reason unmarked police forms, like what are they doing with Semi the Bull Gravano and these other people speaking? And then you ask them, get them on paper, because I need the courts on paper. New York City, I'm not going to beg you. Get on paper. Get me off the fake conversations about the World Trade Center attack and with the people like this Leahy family. forging names of foreign and domestic medical, fake conversations with me. As doctors, they're using mental health locations like Harvard Hospital has people with the name Violette, increasingly involved with the names next to Harvard Hospital, like a Mayano family involved with a whole bunch of people at New Britain Superior Court with various natures of crimes with kids. Increasingly, I never even met the what do you call it? The swim coach teach. There was a swim coach teach coaches, a male and female, and their neighbors, and then neighbors of people tied to a Coach Hagenbar, and other coaches tied to this Mallow family. I don't even know. In other words, I never met the Marco. I believe his name is Marco, and there's an Alex. They tried to make a fake exception as something to do with the San Juan Center and their roles with Providence, Rhode Island, planting evidences interstates with state police from Rhode Island, from Massachusetts, from Maine, from Vermont, involved with these same names like Violette, planting evidences, foreign and domestic military, on and off Elm Streets in Weathersfield and Rocky Hill. I don't know I never had a class in my life with Mark Violette or his brother. Never had a common word at all with his brother. In other words, they've been planting evidences since I was a kid with my neighbors. A whole bunch of people tied to them on those streets and all along Route 3 in the conjunctions to it. As one's increasingly involved with child abusers, leaders of the kids past, and further then and now with more involved with the principal child abuser. Now, they want and need to pretend they don't understand what I'm talking about because they don't have the integrity to have communications with me. That's one of the reasons they're criminally involved. I'm not trying to make any crazy charges. I'm speaking about what's originally still recorded. They're replacing what's recorded over the phones. See, they have a shell game too, where they're hiding behind how they have those sexual groups. I never even went in that gay place next to Trinity College, but has people involved with murders, and they're hiding behind that. And their roles with the same house. People next to Trinity College and CCSU are involved with a Colello and O'Brien with federal evidences crimes with Weathersfield police, and with multiple judges, family members personally involved with them with identity theft, fraud, slanders. Criminally foreign influence uses of words like hearsay. These are sequence shift planters and their roles with the Scalora and the Weathersfield police forging and switching names. One shouldn't have to beg to get a people on paper, including there are other murders. And so note that on Facebook, Enzo Fianza, who was a complete stranger, made all these confessions to me at once, and his ties to a Dillon family. A Dillon family also has a guy who said he was his partner, said it to my speech class, who was increasingly involved with predicate planting evidences in my area, and he had a family that lived in the area. In other words, and they make people use people's other names, either fake and pretending other. In other words, black pupils. We have no one speaking for the law legitimate yet. And the value of the differences of the parties right through administrations, they use that. That's recorded too. Use criminally foreign influence. You fear God when they're asking questions about the Secret Service. They're leaving out what's interagencies involved with what happened with the president, even if they made it up. In other words, I'm not saying they made anything up. I'm saying what are witch trials about? Even if they are made up, regardless of who made them up. They're about that breaching method which was entrenched before America's founders were born. The suburbs were designed tactically denatured with slavery roles, A through Z, against themselves. No one wanted roles with that. All exception nature. The recording, if you look at what people are pretending this is what caused money. That's not what caused slavery. A breaching method, a predicate acts with facts, delivery system method. Nature itself shows us to call it this, because that's one of the things true always. It is when you change, what it means. Nature's communications, how we have for example, how this is left out with such serious conversations, like about what caused the Civil War. What caused the Civil War more than our founders, forcing both North and South to get free, because both North and South still had rules with slavery. People are using the truths. People never stopped using the truth for a lie. That the North fought for freedom. In other words, they were fighting to keep slavery rules entrenched too, because they weren't really fighting for. In other words, they weren't legitimate. They were being used remotely, criminally, foreign influence, tactically, delusions, raw fact, cheap nature, quality aspects in nature. So that's why the nature debate contains them. Contains quality aspects in the nature that can't defend itself and afford to be heard, let alone to protract convictions with words with convictions proper. So they've been using Judge Napolitano's and Judge Janine's Facebook pages, remotely, criminally, foreign influence, now Meta, now the FBI and other agencies, including Secret Service. They have rules with uses of Hotmail and mail, like separate the person from their ability to get their mail and lie about the motivations for it. Now they can't get back into Facebook. They're trying to cover up what I recorded on Facebook, which is also more kids, including the kids of the leaders of the kids that are abusing others' kids and their own, regardless, in other words. So a Leahy family, a Brendan Leahy and his father apparently has the same name. And they have women in their family that work at Hartford Hospital with the Institute of Living, founded on the campus of Hartford Hospital in 1822, with slavery still entrenched in North America and South America. So nature showed the ancients before the sciences became criminally foreign influenced. It is more probable that and how and why all groupings are in demonstration of how we have one group difference / differences being generated from that. In other words, one of the things that those crazy laws that were entrenched was a predicate acts with facts delivery system method. It was roles using people pretending others simultaneously as directed, or they would be sent, and through their own, including if it was a majority of people, including if it was everyone. Even any grouping of nations that forms entertaining locations, areas, and states, as they are actually syntactically manifest, they can't afford to be, let alone to protract. Short words with convictions proper by the Constitution unabridged. They have replaced how James Madison and his plan was used by our founders, and how they went and got George Washington to agree to use that plan to to counter extort the other founders and force them to be roles with presidents. Still themselves, forced, tricked, hurt, and persuaded. The only help they have is criminally foreign influence, tactically delusionate, raw, fact-cheap nature, quality aspects, nature styles. See suits and ties, counters, and exceptions as an array used to hide behind by the breaching method. An identity of hyper simultaneous nature, hyper additional from natures. That one we could discern has the species volume nature system. So manifest the way we could discern its by hyper invisible, but still discernible. English was revealed to discern it, to teach this. So we have the parts of speech as the invisible, but still discernible. And they come, for example, like the reason there are 5 names for a bird, with demonstrations of the hyper invisible, but still discernible. Its identity or relationship to itself, and the only increasing value of that. One way. And the exceptions show how it is hyper additional nature, where it is grouped 5 ways distinctly from how it is grouped 3 ways, which also enables us to discern it. So there are 3 parts of time. There's an extent of the past that you know is true always, because you experienced it. There is an extent of the active grouped present right now that you know is true always. There is an extent of the future that you know about now. You know about the value of the seasons. Now those 3 parts of time are grouped. They are in our capacity. It comes also with the value of sequence truth and its relativity to how nature asks questions and asks us to ask questions unabridged. But see, we have this prevented. We have defenses of, we're forced, tricked, hurt, persuaded to let the interbranch hide life progressions and hide their actually recorded natures by using everything that is said to them comes before them to get away with doing so. So increasingly, Facebook has roles also with this, and now Meta. And Twitter has more upskirt pictures with the principal upskirt picture since there are more federal crimes with him, like with the Joshua Julian, before he was caught, after it, and since, and people with the name Ian involved. I never had a conversation with the Ian up the street from me. Also, he has a Jennifer Kenneth Pickett, has roles plaintiff, in other words, with the people foreign and domestic involved, interstates, and with medical locations and names next to them involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders, planting federal evidences, crimes on and off campuses. Increasingly, a Mike Roberts, people tied to a Mike Roberts are involved with the ones on my street from other areas, like a John Maano with these names. And in other words, them also lying about why they brought this up. They brought this up. And they prevent writing on a mass scale, even against the president. They put charges, but they don't explain them because they're being used to measure and maintain. No one's going to tell how they did this on a mass scale. So when you have courts and people on off state corrections and judicial branch offices involved criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions wrought, planting evidences on and off campuses behind people's backs like little sneak peeks with the news at the same time. You can't have those people solve issues that come before courts, criminal and civil, all sides of criminal and civil cases, and the formal and private law names at the same time, their sources, their family members, neighbors, the difference of it. That's exploited by a breaching method. You should fear God to hide and plot. I'll rap a lot. And stop speaking about, in other words, we're going to examine how nature itself shows us needs to discern the difference between criminal insidiousness natures of groups like criminal enterprises. But see, these have been grouped wrong because even the branches of government have stayed criminal. Oh, but we have the right to lie, as James Comey is recording, leaving out exceptions in exception nature. They exploit on a mass scale. They can't afford to discern what is actually recorded, including means to discern it. Because we have means to evolution, fruits, gifts, means out of nowhere. Russians and Americans, for example, they're involved with a whole bunch of different countries. People from Pakistan planting evidences on off Hartford Hospital and with the names next to that hospital and all along the roads and routes in conjunction with it. So increasingly, people with the name DeMoro have roles with criminal enterprises, and they shared girls with the houses involved with wire crimes and home break-ins, like with the Joshua Julian also involved with this, with the courts on Facebook changing what's digitally recorded with child defenders, leaders, and kids, including more upskirt roles, pictures with the principal child defender. You have women judges switching names. They're incapable of affording discern what came before them, how it was used, or the difference between them and the people names on the state corrections offices and judicial offices. All sides of criminal and civil cases, all sides of the deposition of former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and his co-defendants have people involved planting evidences at West Hartford locations, also with judges and prosecutors and their family members, foreign and domestic military, even generals. You guys should fear God to hide and plot. I rap a lot. And fear God for Police Chief Central's use of the words basement. Yes, you guys, what are they doing with Mazzucato Bakery and Modern Pastry tied to this Mayano in that corner of the Elm Streets in Weathersfield, Rocky Hill, along Franklin Avenue? What are you doing? Fear God now. Okay, let's get on paper, one name and sequence.